Hey everybody, how's it going? Revolutionary Cowboy, or as you'll hear in the video, you hear my real name. Not my full name, just my first name. But yeah, we're gonna go on a blast for the past. And a little bit of cringe. And you'll see why. First of all, look how professional my setup is here on this old video. This old video from 10 years ago. As of July 26th, 2021, this video that was uploaded on July 26th, 2011 is now 10 years old. You guys might be watching this on the 27th or 28th. I don't know, whenever this goes up, but I was bored. I was thinking to myself, I have a video on my channel that's about to be 10 years old, and I knew it was in July or June. I couldn't remember when it was, because if it would have been June, I would have missed this, but I was like, oh, well, I don't know. It was a hunch. I was bored. I wanted to look through my playlist, see if I could find some old videos, and I was like, you know what? This is the oldest video. I say oldest because it's not the first video I ever made. Before this, I made like maybe 3 or 4 videos. The first video I made was like a rant video about one of my friends getting banned from a website, and I was mad about that. And that video was terrible. That one I used like an old Kodak Easy Share camera, and it was garbage. I mean, not the video itself was just for, like I said, it was a rant. But after that, I tried to use my old iPod Touch. Yeah, remember those? Yeah. I don't even think my iPod Touch even works anymore. But long story short, I started using that for videos, and yeah, as you guys notice, it's in portrait mode, not landscape. Nowadays, that's acceptable. We call those shorts. But back then, if you did videos like that, people would tell you, "Oh, that looks terrible. You gotta do it in landscape mode." So yeah, 10 years ago, people would shit on you for doing videos like this. Now, the video itself, when we get into it, well, you think this intro I'm doing now is long? Because I thought nowadays, and I still kind of do long intros, but back then, this video, well, yeah, it was supposed to be about my WCW Figure Collection, and yes, it's cool to give you guys a little bit of a background on why I got into wrestling, but I feel like we're going to see how long it takes before I get into the talk about the figures, so let's hit play and get ready for the cringe. Hey everybody, what's up? This is Jonathan, aka Revolutionary Cowboy. My name's Jonathan, so. And this is my WCW World Championship Wrestling action figure collection. Now, before I get into detail about the figures, and before we get to that, yeah, no tripod back then, so of course it's me just holding my iPod, shaking it around. So if you have motion sickness, you probably don't want to watch this video. You're gonna get pissed. You're going to be like, God dang it, stop shaking the cameras. I mean, man. Alright, so let's get back to this cringe fest of a video. Oh my gosh. I mean, hey, if you can't roast yourself, then who can? When they were made, what toy company made them, what series they're from, their accessories, and what they do. Let me give you a little backstory about my longtime love of wrestling, which I actually didn't become a fan of wrestling until 1998. So, yes, of course, I gotta tell you about being a wrestling fan, but I felt like maybe back then I should have made a separate video where I could have talked about why I was a wrestling fan instead of trying to loop it in the same video about my figures. Yes, of course, I'm showing my figures. They're wrestling figures. But I feel like already 30 seconds in and I'm not even telling you about the figures. I'm telling you about me being a wrestling fan, which, okay, cool. I mean, I guess people won't mind. And you would hope it don't take that long, but we're going to see how long it takes in the video itself that I'm currently watching back. How long it takes before I finally start talking about the figures. Which was the height of the Monday Night War. Oh, the old Monday Night War. When WCW was going to war with the WWF, the World Wrestling Federation, or as you kids now know it as WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment.
Old.
Well, which they don't call themselves that anymore. They just call themselves WWE because they don't want to, as a wrestling company anymore.
Yeah.
Anyways, I got in around the time of the Monday Night War.
Yeah, you already said that.
Monday Night Nitro was going head to head with WWF, Raw's War, or Monday Night Raw as we now call it.
Well,
and we all know who won that.
Okay, it's always been called Monday Night Raw. Without getting too much of a tangent, it was only called Raw's War from about 1997 all the way to 2001. So 20 years ago is when they stopped calling it Raw's War. Otherwise, it was Monday Night Raw before then, but I digress. Let's get back to the video. Oh, boy. Alright, this video, man.
Adam, unfortunately.
By the way, minute in. And before that, I wasn't really a fan of wrestling. I mean, I knew who Hulk Hogan was.
So by this point, if somebody doesn't give a crap about what I'm talking about, they could have already watched a minute and clicked off it. Because look, I already showed you guys a decent amount of the figures I already have. Besides a few I will show you that aren't shown here in the video. They'll until a little bit later. I mean, there's some I didn't put on the table, but yeah, somebody could have already just said, okay, I'm done watching, and just click, go to the next video.
Macho Man Randy Savage. I was maybe familiar with some other wrestlers. Not so much by name, but maybe by the way they looked, like the $1 Million Man, the Ultimate Warrior, Big Boss Man, the Road Warriors.
It's hard to remember.
I came a few others, but I didn't really get to know their names until I was older and maybe already became a wrestler and fan.
A wrestler and fan.
And my first exposure actually to wrestling was when my cousin Trey had this video game for the Nintendo 64 back at the end of '97, in which.
So already we're about a minute and a half in, and I still haven't gotten to the figures. And I'm talking about video games, which hey, I don't mind explaining that. My first exposure to becoming a wrestling fan was WCW vs. NWO World Tour for the N64. Not a great game. I mean, it's an okay game for what it is. I think they had a better game of Revenge. But of course, WWF No Mercy is still the best wrestling game of all time. At least in my opinion. But let's get back to the video. If it ever goes along, you know, it's where I finally start talking about the figures.
Was WCW versus NWO World Tour. For, yeah, like I said, for the Nintendo 64.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I still thought Hulk Hogan was a hero, because, like I told you, I didn't start watching wrestling until '98.
Sorry,
and a year before that, Hogan had just formed the New World Order with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. But I was still thinking he was a good
Sorry,
guy.
guys.
I was like told by my cousin, no, Sting's a good guy.
Wrap it up.
And
Come on, John.
eventually I didn't get into wrestling until maybe about a little bit later in January when I was flipping through the channels one night and watched Nitro for the first time. And, well, got into that, and then later on got into Raw maybe about a couple months later. So that's about it of the little backstory. Now let's get into the story of my figures, which...
Finally!
Of course, my first figure was actually of Sting. Now, it's not of this Sting right here. I didn't get this Sting till later on. Till maybe about a year later. But my first figure of Sting actually was from the original San Francisco Toy Makers WCW.
And, keep in mind, no video edited, so nowadays I could throw a picture of the figure on the screen and be like, oh, hey, here's the figure I don't have, but I can show you what it looks like. Here, you just gotta take my word for it, because unless you want to go do a Google search or go search eBay, you're not going to see the figure. You're going to be like, what the heck is he talking about? A figure that vibrates? Somebody's going to hear that. They're going to take that the wrong way. It's like, yeah, those original San Francisco Toy Maker WCW figures, which were what, 8, maybe 10, 9 inches? I don't know what the scale was in those figures. They were about close to a foot tall, but maybe not a foot. They vibrate. Yeah, I think there's a Wrestling for Regret video you guys can watch where he's talking about his old wrestling figures, and they're wondering why the figures vibrate, and they just left it at that. Okay, let's get back to the video.
My Nitro set, and it was a set of 8 figures, which were about maybe a foot, foot and a half, maybe 2 feet tall. I can't remember how big they were, and they had butt on the side, and they vibrated. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I guess it's supposed to be the rumble action, like they do with controllers. Anyways, it was a complete set of 8 with Sting, Hollywood Hogan, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, the Giant, Lex Luger, Chris Benoit, and the Taskmaster Kevin.
Okay, first, we're not supposed to talk about Chris Benoit. WWE might hear that. No, I'm just kidding. So already, look at the time. It's 3 minutes, and I'm not telling you guys anything about the collection here. I'm just talking about figures I used to have, and not the figures I have. Like, wow, I mean, once again, it was not my first video. It was my first action figure related video, obviously, where I was trying to do videos, trying to be, I don't know, I guess trying to show you guys what I had. I mean, I never really had any big aspirations of becoming a big YouTuber, but I don't know. Okay, let's get back to this long cringe fest.
Sullivan. I had all the figures but Luger and Giant, because my friends already had those figures, and I later on got rid of those 6 I had, because I would later get new versions of the figures.
Which is
so, of course, I don't have those anymore. Now, there's many more that I've had that I've gotten rid of. So let me go down the figures I actually do still have.
Finally!
Starting with the Giants. Or as maybe you may know him as now, as The Big Show.
Okay, so before anyone tries to say, wait, did you say you didn't have those figures? Now, I didn't mention the video. These are the smaller, 5, 6-inch scale figures that they didn't have the vibrate action. Instead, they had the little buttons on the back, or they would have a little groove or something, and they would do like an action like the Giant does, like, well, at least he used to. You do like this double axe handle kind of action. So that one, and then you'll see a couple more afterwards that I have. But If I even explain, because this is a video that's 10 years old.
WWE. Yeah, back when right here we had more hair. Now he's bald.
Oh, really?
Of course, this one was also made in '98, about months after the Nitro set. Well, maybe those first made '97. I can't remember. I think they were '97. This was from '98 though, much smaller. Of course, there's a button in the back you press, and yeah, you can see the paint is chipped because I took figures out of the box. So I used to play with them because I was still pretty young at the time.
Well, not that.
It was a double axe handle.
13 years old. The arms I guess I was young compared to what I am
now. They
now.
don't work as well as they used to.
Yeah, see, the figure barely works.
Okay, the next figure, of course, is of Mr. Buff.
And actually, is this me or something? He started trying to do the monkey, like, Johnny Bravo, do the monkey, baby, oh! I should have made that joke in the video. That would have been a good joke, but I wasn't thinking at the time because it was 10 years ago.
Bagwell, Buff Daddy. Buff is the stuff.
Buff!
This figure, unfortunately, does not work anymore. I can't really move it that way. It doesn't do the bionic elbow like he used to do. And you can tell this is a very crappy figure. Look how small he looks.
No, really? You think?
I like the figures they made for him later from Toy Biz, but I guess it's an okay figure. It's the only one I have. And the last figure I have to show you that's out of the box, I have a couple more I will show you towards the end of the video that I bought later on, as I actually start to appreciate figures' value, start keeping the box. This, of course, the Master of the 619, Rey Mysterio, back during his WCW days. Of course, the smallest figure in the collection, and he actually still works pretty well. He kicks. So, of course, that's the end of those figures. For now, I'll show you the other two later. Later on, towards the end of '98, beginning of '99, WCW had already started making better figures with Toy Biz, the company that made favorite X-Men and other Marvel Comics action figures. And the first series was the Smash and Slam series, and I'm trying to remember all the names.
Oh, I shook the camera there. Oh, I'm glad I didn't drop my iPod. That would have been bad. And keep in mind, there will be no editing, so the minute I do something like that, oh, video's over. There goes the 5 minutes I spent talking. I mean, I guess, once again, cut to the chase. I mean, gets the figures, but, Okay, let me hit play again.
The figures as I can, because I have a list. I had to look all these figures up. It's been really years since I bought any of these. The first one I bought from them was, of course, one of my favorites, the Macho Man Randy Savage. Which, he was not my first Macho Man figure. I had another Macho Man figure prior to this one, which was from the original San Francisco Toy Makers.
Which I would have shown on the screen if I could edit it back then.
And was in his Madness black and white attire and did like a thing, the bionic elbow or something. I can't remember what the heck he did. Or it was probably double axe handle. Yeah, I think that was it. Well, anyways, this one kind of does the same thing, double axe handle, but he also has a steel chair. Unfortunately, though, this is one of the first casualties of squeezing his legs, which I squeezed him too hard, broke his leg, the leg over here with the NWO on it.
And you know the worst part about that? So, sometimes I would bring my toys with me to school. Now, of course, I couldn't have them in class, but I would have them in my backpack. So, there was some friends of mine on the bus that were wrestling fans. You know, it's like showing them one of the figures. So I showed them the Macho Man. Started squeezing the leg. Squeezed it a little bit too hard. And, well, poor Macho's leg fell off. I felt so embarrassed. Everybody kind of laughed. I mean, because also there'd be kids on the bus who don't like wrestling who would start poking fun at you for being a wrestling fan. And also, keep this in mind, I was 13, 14 years old in middle school. So already I was considered, back then, an outcast for having action figures. Nowadays, it's more acceptable. But back then, yeah, I was still in the minority when it came to, stuff like this because it wasn't as culturally accepted as it is now. But yeah, still, to have that happen when I'm on the bus, I'm like, oh my gosh, I had shit on my face when that happened. Thankfully, I've since replaced this figure. I have another one in my collection that I've at least taken better care of because I only did like one review of it and then I just squeezed it gently so I don't break it. But alright, so back to the video.
Tried to glue the leg back on, but couldn't do the squeezing anymore. Later, the leg fell off. Of course, because it was steel chair, as I mentioned, and the vest is removable. And there were a few more figures in that set that I was lucky enough to buy. So let me go to the next one over here, the Lex Luger. Of course, back during his days of the Wolfpack, and this figure looks kind of bad. It looks like a monkey.
Yeah, he kind of does.
Offended any Lex Luger fans out there. Comes up a police line, and he does the torture rack action when he squeezes his legs, but he drops the figure onto. You can drop the figure onto the police line. I would show you, but it's real hard to do it when I'm using my iPod camera.
Well, yeah, of course.
Behind him is another figure from the set, Dime Dust Page, with a steel barricade, and he's in the self-high five position. And if you squeeze his legs, he can break the barricade. Unfortunately, like my Macho Man figure, it's broken, but he's still in one piece because the legs are still together.
Thankfully, I I don't know if the joints just got real tight on or something. I don't know. Just yeah, action features. They were cool back then, but nowadays people shit on them. It's like I prefer figures like the Elites we get today or the AEW Unrivaled stuff that don't have to rely on action features but have like good articulation. But man, how far we've come since then. Since, these old Toyvis figures, the original San Francisco, or even the old Jakks Pacific figures. I mean, man, we've come such a long way. Just like I've come a long way with videos, at least for the most part.
I can still squeeze the legs, but it won't do anything. The arms are kind of pretty much screwed up. So I can still do it with Luger, but just not with Savage because of his broken leg and Page. Well, I just can't squeeze the legs well. But here's a couple more that do work. Kevin Nash, the leader of the NWO Wolfpack, with a referee, and he does the Jackknife Powerbomb action. So yeah, if you want to test out I guess I have a test out. Your little test dummy here is the ref. And the last figure I have from that set is Scott Hall. Of course, was in the black and white.
Yo.
He's wearing his red and black attire. And there was an alternate black and white attire, which I never knew that until I saw some videos on the internet about it. Because of a very crappy looking table that you can break. Scott Hall does the outsider's edge, or razor's edge, whatever.
And also, the coffee table I have there looks very similar to that table in a way. I didn't put two and two together until now.
I call it when he squeezes legs. He's also missing a little curl on his head, and I'm missing one accessory for him, which was a Sting mask. Because back then, the Sting masks were very popular. And Scott Hall put a mask on, a t-shirt on, and Sting's trench coat when Sting was scheduled to have a match with Scott Hall for the title on an episode of Nitro, and Scott Hall was dressed up as Sting and ambush Sting. So yeah, I don't have that accessory anymore. I wish I did. It was pretty cool, and sometimes we'll put the trench coat on him. Now another figure I have from the set, and I have it again, is Sting from the Smash and Slam set. Now this is the black and white version with a bat. And for anyone out there who did collect these figures like that I did, you will remember that the bat did not come with this version. It came with the Wolfpack version, which I did have the Wolfpack version, but I later on got the black and white version because Sting had stopped doing the Wolfpack gimmick because he had already returned back to his old black and white Crow gimmick. This one was in a 2-pack with Hogan, which was a remake of the Hogan from the Zack Same series, which the Hogan from the Smash and Slam series by himself was in his just with his tearaway shirt, sunglasses, pants. But the other one was Hogan wearing just a tank top, had no sunglasses on, and did the same thing as the other one, which somebody stole that figure. I was so ticked off.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So yeah,
but thankfully I have since bought a new one, which I have in my collection. So yeah, that's what happens when you have friends, and sometimes they're your friends, and they bring their friends over, and then yeah, stuff comes up missing. I mean, it happens. Whatever. Hey, you live and learn.
Pretty much, don't have the Hogan to go with it, or Sting on the bell, of course, that's what the accessory came with it, and the display stand. So, kind of sucks. I do have another Hogan, fortunately, but still sucks to have that stolen from me. So, I don't know how valuable Sting is by himself about that.
And I don't know if I showed in the video, but I have a grip and flip Hogan that was kind of my replacement, but those grip and flip figures were bad because they had the magnets on their hands and they'd come out, and yeah, once again, I don't think I showed them in this video. I don't remember what all I show. This being a 10-year-old video that I watched very few times, probably before I couldn't watch it anymore because it was a cringe fest. That's all I can say. Just go back and watching it now.
Hogan figure. Okay, of course, speaking of Hogan, the next one I have is a grip and flip
okay,
figure.
I do show them. Okay, I wasn't sure.
With Goldberg. And the accessories for that were a steel chair and a belt as Goldberg is wearing. The sad thing about this is I no longer have the magnets for Goldberg. Which, if anyone who never owned any of those figures wonder how they work, there were magnets that grip their figures together, which was like this. I'm sorry if I'm not showing you very well.
So I do try to show you, but
it's probably going to fall over now, because these figures do not stand up very well.
Yeah, surprisingly.
And I guess the figure I bought, figures I bought here, got them later on at Dollar General years later. These were released about the end of, end of 99 or so. So yeah, of course, Goldberg, we have the grip Hogan, flip him up, grab the chair, and also there was a little thing on Hogan's back that Goldberg could grip and throw Hogan up in the air. Now behind him is another figure I got years later, which was from the Slam and Crush collection. I think I'm saying that right. K-Dog, Conan, which came with a trash can. If you press the lever, the trash can smashes. Kind of broken a little bit, so it's kind of hard to put it back together. And it came with his hat he always wore. And he also came with his shirt, which he wore around his waist, and I've since have lost that. And another casualty of taking a figure out of a box. I didn't do this though. My figure got stolen by one of my friends. Actually, he borrowed it because he was a big fan of Conan. I wish he would have asked me before he took it. And I'm thinking his little brother, who was a baby at the time, had ripped the hand off. So yeah, that's...
Well, and thankfully, just like the Macho Man figure, I did buy another Conan at a flea market, which has the hand still attached and the shirt, so this is one of my extra figures I don't have anymore. I think so. Once again, I have another Conan figure, thank God. So I can actually have one if I were to decide to start displaying these, or if I ever did reviews again, or anything like that. But it's not so much taking your figures out of the box, it's when you're a kid. And you have friends who are kids. I mean, I was a teenager, but I had friends who were, like, younger than me. Like I had, friends that were still in elementary, and even, like 5, 7 years younger, because they were in the neighborhood, and I hang out with them. But I was like, man, when one of my friends took my Conan figure, I was not too happy. I was like, oh. Well, I mean, or any figure, just, you take any figure of mine. I'm like, but once again, that's just, that's being a kid. I mean, we all have done dumb things when we were kids. I mean, haven't we all? But anyways, back to the video.
Advise kids, don't ever let them see your figures unless you want them to get stolen and get broken, or keep them in the box.
That's not the best advice.
Behind him, right there.
Obviously, Sharon is Karen. Come on.
Rick Steiner, the dog-faced gremlin from the Ringmaster set. Comes with a removable leather jacket, just like Sting has a removable trench coat. Rick Steiner doesn't really do anything, but he does have an accessory. Of course, as his gimmick is the dog-faced gremlin.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he came with. And if you pull the chain on there, the dog moves its mouth. Let me see if I can demonstrate that for you. Yeah, like that.
Yeah, just a little bit.
All right, behind him is from the Bruiser series, another figure of Macho Man, which I was thankful to get this figure. And this might be hard to do, so I won't show you. But anyways, if you go behind the cage, there's a lever on Macho Man's back, and you can take the figure out of the cage. But anyways, he kicks the cage down. So that's almost about it of those 30 figures from Toy Biz. Got a couple more to show you. Of course, Bret Hart from the Ring Fighter series, which was a series of 4, and there was ones later released. Of course, the main series that came out was Bret Hart, Chris Benoit, Booker T, and Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner.
And I think they made
each came with a little ring, a little half a ring that you could. If you collected all 4 of them, you could put the ring together. And each one did a certain thing. When you put the figure on the ring and then press a lever, like Bret Hart did a drop kick. I don't have that ring anymore, otherwise I would have it standing right there. And finally, the last one of my WCW Toy Biz figures is of Roddy Piper. See if I can remember.
Roddy Piper.
Get
right.
From the Power Slam series, which comes with a bagpipe, which shoots. You can squeeze in, shoots one of them like a missile, and jacket's removable along with his kilt and his knee pads. Okay, so that's it. The WCW Toy Biz figures. I have a couple more little things here from Toy Biz, which were of the Bash and Brawlers, which was WCW's version of the WWF Wrestling Buddies from the early 90s.
Or the Brawl
I never got
Buddies.
the big ones, but I did get the smaller ones. Which here's Macho Man Randy Savage, which there was 2 versions of him. The black and white Madness attire.
Hey,
of course, this one right here.
Get your thumb off my
Of course, you squeeze his chest. You can't do it anymore. I don't have any batteries for him. The batteries are drained. And of course, he says his name, and you keep hitting him, and he makes all the grunts. He's screaming at you to stop doing it. And you let him pin him. And the other one I have is, of course, a big, sexy Kevin Nash. So, yeah.
Also, can we admire that couch I used to have? Of course, this is back when I lived with my mom. But yeah, look at that plaid couch back there, man. I miss that couch.
Of course, so those figures. The last figures I'm going to show you are the ones that are actually in the box that I bought years later at a garage sale. Actually, about 2 years ago. This one, of course, I did actually have this figure at one time. Not the one on the table, but actually of this one from the WCW original San Francisco Toy Maker series of Goldberg, which I later gave to my friends. But this one I bought at a garage sale, and I was looking at this one. And the last one I'll show you is another one in the box from original San Francisco Toy Makers of Diamond Dallas Page. And of course, you see in the back, there's a button, and it shows you all the figures you collect, of course. DDP, Giant, Sting, Nash, sorry if I'm not holding this right, Raven, and some other figures, of course. Or Savage, I did have this one, but it was the one that action. That's just a posable figure, and see if I can show you on the back of this one.
Too much, man.
Going down memory lane? Nope, I guess not. Okay, well then that's about it. Okay, well, this video's going on about 13 minutes.
Yeah, 13
So
minutes
thanks
too
for taking time
long.
to watch this long
This
ass
should be
video,
like a
and I will be
5-minute
doing more
video.
long ass videos in the future, and I
Tops.
will cut some short because I have a lot more figures in this. Of course, my next video will be of my WWF WWE Jack Pacific collection out of the box. Of course, I have a crap load of them in the box too, and my Mattel collection and my
Oh,
TNA
boy.
collection. So I'll be showing those
My
in future videos.
Small.
Anyways,
Mattel collection of time.
thanks for watching this video, and see any figures you liked, or if you had any figures you own, maybe ones I don't have, maybe you want to talk about, you know, feel free to comment. That's all. Rock on. And, you know, if you like my videos, subscribe. Later.
Yeah, that's before I started saying rock on, keep collecting, because this is back when I first started. I think it took me about a year before I started with the rock on, keep collecting. Then, of course, I had the stay safe just last year with the pandemic. But wow, was that hard to watch or was that hard to watch? Now, of course, I've come along a long way since this video. While, yeah, I'm not perfect, I still make my mistakes. I still ramble on. It happens. You can definitely tell I've definitely got a little more charisma now than I did then. Because even if you go back and you watch some of my early vlog videos where I'm just standing here, I'm sitting here just kind of trying to go, you're just Revolutionary Cowboy here making a video, and believe me, there are some videos where I'm just like, I'm gonna have to go back and watch some of my old vlog videos, watch that cringe. There's the ones I've had sunglasses on, which if you wear sunglasses in the house, like, man, I mean, these old videos of mine, just to see how long I've come since this video. Now, once again, this is not the first video, but it is the oldest video on my channel, because, like I said, I had other videos that I ended up deleting just because I wasn't satisfied. I could have deleted this one and redid it, but I didn't. And yeah, like I said, the next videos are after this one are my Jax figures and my Mattel figures, which, man, my Mattel collection that'd be an hour-long video at least. No, 2-hour-long video. I don't know how long the video would be if I would show you my entire collection of Mattel figures. My Jax collection isn't that big. I mean, I've added a few figures here and there. And then I have got ribs of figures over the years, like the DDP and the Goldberg. I ended up selling to the flea market. The ones that I showed you were the Min box. I don't have them anymore, but that's all right. Man, I could go on and on with all this, but yeah, that was my WCW Figure Collection with the 4-minute intro that really took away from what I was supposed to show you. Like I said, this could have been a 5-minute video. But wow, I had to go back and watch this. I had to roast myself, man, because back then I couldn't handle stuff like this. If people said stuff to me, I would delete their comments, or I just would be all angry. I'd be like, "Oh, screw you!" Yeah. Nowadays, I'm like, whatever. And man, just to go back and watch this, it's just, oh man. I still can't believe I still have this video, but I had to go back and review it. But anyways, guys, that's it. Thanks for wasting about. I'm gonna say you probably wasted a good 20 minutes of your life here, probably watching me watch this video. But thank you if you enjoyed my commentary on this. I'll definitely try to do some more again in the future as we go back and watch some more cringe carnivals that are my early videos from the first year or so I was here on YouTube. And wow, yeah, at least things get better from here, but there'll still be some videos that'll just be kind of hard to watch, but I guess we'll have to see. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Rock on, keep collecting, and stay safe.